Everyone, greetings from in Uni UK. Thank you so much for joining our webinar today. My name is Degina Weatherell and I'm the Director of Recruitment within in Uni UK and Europe Division, overseeing international students recruitment for a number of our partner universities. Today, I'm extremely excited to talk about our premium partner university, beautiful Canterbury Christ Church University. And you can see Canterbury Cathedral in my background as well. That's where graduations take place. Today, we will be covering one of the most important topics, which is compliance. Everyone is now preparing for their CAS applications, for their visa applications, and obviously arrival in the UK. So it's really important that you follow this webinar, perhaps take notes if needed as well. The webinar is being recorded and the recording will be shared with you also afterwards in case if you miss anything, as well as the presentation. So I'm excited to be joined by colleagues from the university. So we have Lauren Stevenson, who is compliance manager at CCCU. Thank you so much for joining us, Lauren. And we have Richard Venner, who is international business development manager at CCCU. I also have my colleague from InUni, Saule, who is compliance and operations manager, and Sukanya from InUni marketing team, who is helping us to run this webinar smoothly. I guess before we start talking about serious topic of compliance, and with lots of UKVI updates coming our way, it's really important to keep an eye on that. I just wanted to remind to everyone that you can still submit your students' applications via GAS Gateway. It's really important that you do it as soon as possible. We have announced deadlines recently, and they are approaching really, really soon. So please ensure that you try to file your students' applications with maximum documents provided. We have also introduced a compulsory submission of CV and SOP, so personal statement. It's really important that you provide the required personal statement. This webinar will cover a bit more information on the requirements of personal statement, but in a nutshell, please ensure that you submit personal statements which are not AI generated and there is no plagiarism, so that our admissions can take your case further and proceed for conditional offer letter. It's really important that you start booking consultations with my team on the ground as soon as your offer letter is issued. And if you've already completed those steps, please ensure you provide missing documents at the soonest as well. Once you receive your unconditional offer letter from the university, please book your pre-CAS interview and also arrange a deposit payment, because the intake is approaching really, really soon. So it's important that the payment is allocated quickly for your students to avoid any disappointment. And obviously, consultation session already prepares your students for pre-CAS interview. So hopefully you will, your students will pass pre-CAS interviews with flying colors. And one more thing to note here, which is really important, we've noticed that UKVI has started interviewing students as well in certain regions, especially. So it's crucial that your students stay prepared for those interviews and not only for consultation and the university pre-CAS interview. Really, really important. I can't stress it enough. So again, a reminder to everyone, deadlines are fast approaching. I can't stress it enough. Let's please ensure you submit your students' applications, including CVs and SOPs of your students, so we can take your case forward as soon as possible, and also provide missing documents, book consultations. We're not done yet. And one more thing, I guess, before we jump into compliance, I wanted to bring here Richard, please, just to remind to everyone about CCCU USPs. I know all our partners are well trained by our team on the ground, and students also know why they are choosing CCCU to come to study this September. But I think it's always great to reiterate what exactly is CCCU about, why should students consider CCCU as their study destination. And I think it also helps students to actually prepare for their interviews as well. So Richard, over to you.
Oh, amazing. Thanks so much, Dagina. So yeah, before we get into Lauren and Saule's insightful, informative and very, very useful session, let me talk a little bit about Canterbury Christ Church University, our USPs, and why you should come and study here. So first of all, let me talk about our location because this is something incredible about Canterbury. I'm actually from Canterbury. I was born in Canterbury, grew up in Canterbury. I moved away for a period of time and I came back to study at Canterbury Christ Church University, did my master's at Christ Church, and I've stayed in Canterbury. So Canterbury is a really beautiful historic city, obviously located in Kent, the Garden of England, so it's very, very green. And we're only 55 minutes on the train from London, from our amazing capital. Plus, if you like nature and natural walks in the countryside or swimming in the sea, we have coastline and countryside a short bus ride away from Canterbury. Canterbury is a very welcoming, friendly, and historic city. As Degina mentioned in her background, you can see Canterbury Cathedral, where we have our graduations. And in my background, you can see our new Verena Holmes building, our £65 million new building, where we deliver many of our courses. So location is one incredible USP. With that comes affordability. Because we're outside of London, Canterbury is so much more affordable, both in terms of the cost of living and also accommodation. We have many different accommodation options for students, ranging from a very, very affordable £120 per week up to around £180 per week. So much more affordable than other study destinations like London. We also provide many financial incentives as well for our students, including financial incentives to buy food and drink on campus, and of course our international student scholarship of £1,500 as well. So that's location, and that's a bit about affordability. I'll talk a little bit as well, Degina, about employability, because in 2023 we were #1 in the United Kingdom for employability, so for helping our graduates to secure their dream job. This is something we're very, very proud of, and we have an incredible team who work day and night to support our students, support our academics, and create the perfect environment to help you, our students, get your dream job. Finally, I think Canterbury Christ Church University, above all, is a very friendly and inclusive place to live, to study, and to work as well. All of our students get a personal academic tutor, someone that you can go to talk to about your course and about your studies. And also the team that I'm in, our international team, we provide lots of support as well, both face-to-face and online, to support our international community. So, Degina, those are just a few of the reasons why students should come to Canterbury and come to Canterbury Christ Church University.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Richard. That's really helpful. And I think makes students who already are in the process to come to CCCU even more. Excellent. Thank you so much. I guess it's over to our compliance presenters now. I'm not sure if we still have Lauren here. I know she's having some technical issues.
Yeah, thank you, Degina.
Okay,
if we
perfect.
can just put the slides up on the screen.
Excellent, thank
We'll
you.
wait for them to come into view. Lovely. So my name's Lauren Stevenson and I am the compliance manager here at CCCU. So I manage the team that deal with your CAS requests, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity today to speak to you all about some of our compliance procedures, which will significantly support your application and your student journey here at CCCU. If we could go to the next slide, please. Without fear of repeating too much of Richard's lovely speech about CCCU, but in 2023 we were first in the UK for graduates in employment. and our career offer at CCCU is still fantastic. We have an amazing careers hub and student ambassadors and uni temps and people who are there to support students get into successful employment or just increase their employability by other means, such as support with how to write successful CVs and resumes, interview practice, everything that can just get you ready for an excellent career once you have successfully completed your studies. We're a very ecological university and we care a lot about our environment and our surroundings and protecting the area we live. And like Richard said, Canterbury is just a fantastic location. I am biased, obviously, but to me, Canterbury is one of the few cities in the UK where you just get everything. We are close to London, which is obviously the capital of England, so our large city. Canterbury is a smaller city, but with direct links into London, as well as other coastal towns and into the countryside. So I always say to students with Canterbury, you do just get everything. You get the beach and the coast and the sea and the lovely summers and fairs and events. You get the countryside, the fields, the nature, the trails and walks and the lovely waters and landscapes. And then you also get that lively city life as well. So we are a student city. We have 3 universities here. We are very diverse. It's a very fun, upbeat city. There's loads of clubs, bars, restaurants, shops, amazing facilities. So with Canterbury, you do just get a bit of everything. And like Richard said, that just the social ability here is fantastic. It's so easy to make friends from all over the world in one place because we have such a diverse culture. We have fantastic student ambassadors, we have societies, clubs, events within the university and within the local area. So it really is a fantastic campus and a fantastic place to study. If we could go to the next slide, please. Okay, so to get onto the more serious side of compliance, today we're going to discuss your statement of purposes and why we ask for them and how they should look. We're also going to discuss the pre-CAS interviews, requesting the CAS and the CAS itself, as well as deposit payments. And we're going to touch a little bit upon your journey to CCCU as well, from application all the way through to when you arrive in Canterbury. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is just a rough outline of the general journey from application to arrival. This will look slightly different for each person. There's so many contributing factors that can have an effect on your journey to CCCU, but this is how, as a standard, we would approach your student journey in a timeline. So initially, you receive an offer letter, whether that be conditional or unconditional. And what I'd like to add in at this point is an unconditional offer is not a guarantee that you will be studying at CCCU. Just because you have no formal conditions to meet with your qualifications does not mean that you're going to be successful in the rest of this journey. So it's very important that each step is taken very seriously, even if you do have an unconditional offer. After your offer, you will be you'll be invited to a pre-CAS interview. Sometimes the deposit payments and the interviews are done in the reverse order. So a deposit payment sometimes is asked for upfront, depending on the time of year and how busy it might be. So those 2 steps may be in reverse for you, but generally a pre-CAS interview is done before the deposit payment is made. If it gets towards the end of the academic year and we are approaching the next intake and time becomes quite constrained, you may be asked to pay your deposit in advance. So then as soon as you are successful in the pre-CAS interview, we can promptly move on through the next steps. The CAS request, so the applicant needs to submit the CAS request to our team before they can be issued with a CAS. So it's very important that you are aware of all the actions you need to take in this process. and it's not always a case of waiting for the next step. So we're going to speak about how to submit your CAS request and what information is required to be added into that. Once you submit that request, it will come through to my team and we will process your CAS. This includes a variety of checks with your application, your immigration history, and your financial documents. When we are happy with all of the documentation and evidence provided, you will be assigned a CAS. This will be emailed to you. The CAS number is what you need to make your student route visa application. Once your application is made, it is then handed over to the Home Office. So we don't have, we can't expedite your visa application. It is the UK Home Office that gives you or grants you your visa. Once they hopefully successfully grant your visa, you can begin your plans to arrive in Canterbury, and then you will see us for the first time in person, which is then where the registration and welcome process begins, which we'll touch upon a little bit later. So the first aspect of your journey that I want to give some time speaking about is your statement of purpose, often referred to as a SOP. A statement of purpose is a statement written by the student detailing why they are an appropriate candidate for the course they have selected. It should be no more than one A4 page long, and an A4 page, guys, isn't very long. It can definitely be filled. It doesn't mean it has to necessarily be filled. A couple of paragraphs, a strong personal statement of purpose does not need to be 3 pages long. It's important to remember that it will be humans reading your statement of purpose. You should include relevant details of previous work and study experience, as well as your career goals and how they link to the course that you have chosen. You can also discuss about why you have particularly chosen Canterbury Christ Church University and why it is with us that you want to study and not anywhere else in particular. We ask for statement of purposes because they are the opportunity for our admissions team to hear directly from the applicant. CCCU is a very personal university, and we like to have that personal connection with all of our applicants and candidates. We're not just interested in the facts and figures, we're interested in the students and the applicants and their journey and how they want to be successful. It offers us a more personal insight into who they are and what your goals are and how we can help you get to them. A statement of purpose also helps us determine your authenticity, and is often referred to in your pre-CAS interviews. So whatever you include in your statement of purpose will likely be referred to or followed up on in your pre-CAS interviews. A statement of purpose should be written by the applicant, not by AI, not by a friend or an agent or anyone else who you know. This is because, like I said previously, it's so important to us that we have that personal connection with our applicants. And if the statement of purpose is written by AI or artificial intelligence or someone else who is not the student, we're not going to have that. We want it to be personal, and we want to read about your opinions and preferences, not just facts and figures and statistics. And people who are reading your personal statements are humans, so they do know if your statement of purpose is written by AI. I think some people can think AI writes really good statement of purposes, but 9 times out of 10 it will be spotted, it will be picked up on, and it will make a student seem less authentic if they go down that route. Okay, so pre-CAS interviews. We can go to the next slide, please. Lovely, thank you. So a pre-CAS interview is conducted online by one of our admissions officers. They happen after your offer, but before the CAS process starts. You might remember I mentioned earlier that even if you have an unconditional offer, that doesn't necessarily mean that you will be successful in the rest of the journey, because you can still fail a pre-CAS interview. So it's very important that you still take the rest of your journey just as seriously as the application stage. The interviews are usually short, lasting between 10 to 20 minutes in length, depending on the questions that are asked and the answers that are given. It's a time for us to meet you as an applicant and to understand why you've chosen CCCU and your course of study. So very much like the statement of purpose, this is the opportunity for our teams to get to know you as a person and to understand why you have made the decisions that you have made. And we want to hear about how this links to the rest of your journey, how it links to your career prospects, how it links to your previous studies and work, how it links to how you want to live your life socially, why Canterbury is somewhere you've decided to study, or why the UK is somewhere you've decided to study. We also have the duty to ensure that all students who join us for study have the genuine intention to study whilst they are with us in the UK. So we are responsible for ensuring that who we give a CAS to is a genuine student. That doesn't mean that we are here to trick you out. A pre-CAS interview is not designed to eliminate candidates. We want you to have a successful journey. We want you to come and study with us. So it's very important, much like the statement of purposes, that your pre-CAS interviews are authentic, that they are spoken from you and your own thoughts and your own words. We're not expecting students to have excellent English. We understand that quite often English is spoken as a second language. So don't get me wrong, whilst we often have students who speak better English than even me, it doesn't matter if your English is subpar, as long as it's enough and it matches your English qualification results. We don't expect you to not get confused. We don't expect you to not ask for repetition. We don't expect you to understand all of the questions without needing them to be reworded slightly. So don't panic if you need to take some more time to think about your answers. We understand that. We're not there to trick you out. You just need to make sure that your answers are authentic and they come from you and they are not scripted. You'll be asked a short set of questions, usually 5 to 7. The questions are picked randomly and follow-up questions are asked based on the conversation. So it's impossible for an applicant to completely script all their answers because even the interviewer doesn't know what the follow-up questions are going to be. They could ask any follow-up questions. They're not predetermined from a set of pre-designed questions that you can research. The questions are generally about why you've chosen CCCU for study, the course you've chosen, your career goals, and your post-study work plans. They, again, are not there to trick you out. You don't have to, it's good to be well researched, but you don't have to be scripted. These are questions a lot of the time based on your opinion and based on your passions and your hobbies and your desires. So it's 100% possible to be 100% authentic. If you can go to the next slide, please. Some tips on how to be ready for your pre-CAS interview is to tell your interviewer your genuine reasons for choosing Canterbury Christ Church University and your course of study. Don't just tell us what you think sounds good, because we'd rather have that personal connection and we'd rather have your opinion rather than what you think we want to hear. Don't just tell us loads of facts and statistics about ourselves because we already know them, but tell us why those facts make you want to study at CCCU, what your opinion on those figures are. Don't read off a script or any other prep material and have a natural conversation instead. You might think that your script is so well rehearsed that we won't know, but again, 9 times out of 10, we will realise. Namely because if the conversation is scripted, previous applicants have probably used a similar script previously. So when you're having interviews with different applicants multiple times a day, you can tell when you start hearing the same answers again and again and again. Make sure you're knowledgeable about the course you have chosen. A degree is such a significant qualification, and choosing to study your degree in another country is such a huge decision. It would be impossible to believe that an applicant has not carefully considered their career plans and chosen a course that fits around that. So when you have your pre-CAS interview, make sure you're prepared to give answers on why you have chosen this course and how it fits into your goals and your aspirations. We want to hear how the course fits into your chosen career. So make sure you know what your chosen career is. We don't expect every 18 to 30-year-old to have fully planned their future and all of their career, but we expect you to have an interest that's going to drive your career in a certain direction. So, if you're really interested in the business field, tell us about why you're interested in the business field. What part of business? Business management? What type of business? Is it a business related to animals? Is it a business related to products? Is it a business that's digitally marketed? Things like that are really useful things to talk about, and they're easy for you to talk about because they're your own genuine passions. And lastly, be prepared, but be yourself. Like I've reiterated multiple times already, CCCU, we just want you to be authentic and genuine. Next slide, please. Okay, so booking your pre-CAS interviews, down to the technical aspects. For UG applicants, things are done slightly differently. So you will receive an email with a Teams link, a calendar invite. The time and day will be in British time. So we have had it before where students have gotten confused, but always remember it will always be sent to you in British time. So if that says 1 p.m, that's 1 p.m. UK time. If the time is not convenient for you, you can request a new slot, and this goes for PG as well. If you can't find any time slots that are convenient for you, you can request a new slot. What is very important though is that you communicate if you cannot make this time slot, because you will only be given 2 attempts to interview, and if you fail or you're on a no-show for both, you won't be given another option. So it's important that you just communicate so we understand that you do still want to have your interview and that you are taking your application seriously, but unfortunately you cannot just make this particular time, and then a new slot will be given. With PG applications, you need to select your interview from a number of options or different slots. The way you would do this is via your My Record. If you can see the red box with the exclamation mark inside, that's what the tile would look like that you select, and that will take you to the next screen where you can see a few different dates and times of interviews. You just select on the one that's most suitable for you. Sometimes you may go on there and there will be no available interview slots. They are often updated weekly. If you're concerned that each time you go on you cannot book an interview, just ring our PG admissions team and they will give you advice, or they'll be able to manually book you on. Next slide, please. Okay, now deposit payments. If we could just go straight to the next slide. So after you success, as I said before, sometimes these 2 steps are done in slightly different order, but generally, if it's quite early on in the year, after you've successfully completed your pre-CAS interview, you will be asked to pay your student deposit, your student route deposit. The way you would do this is again in your My Record, and you can see the red tile box again with the exclamation mark inside that says student route visa deposit action required. You would click on this and that would take you to the deposit payment page. It's important to bear in mind that sometimes international payments can take a while to reach the UK or to reach the university. So don't be concerned if you don't receive a payment confirmation straight away, or you don't receive the next steps in the CAS process straight away. If you are concerned that you think it's taken a while, which is completely understandable when you've made a significant payment, please contact our accounts receivable team, because they'll be able to advise you and they'd be able to track the payment. If you think your payment should have been allocated already and it hasn't, and you can't get through to the accounts receivable team, you can also contact the UKVI compliance team or the admissions team, and we'll all be happy to help you. You can go on to the next slide, please. This is what once you click on the tile, this is the screen you'll see. And you can see the little blue bar that says take action. That will take you through to the payment choices. And then you can select from there. Again, if you have any issues with this process, accounts receivable are the best team for you to speak to. But if for whatever reason you can't make contact with them, you can contact admissions teams or you can contact compliance teams, and we'll all be happy to help you. Next slide, please. Once your deposit is paid and confirmed, you will be invited to request a CAS. So if we go to the next screen, this is how you would make that request. And like I said to you previously, it's very important that you are aware of the actions that you need to take as an applicant, because it doesn't all happen automatically. So the deposit is paid, the payment is confirmed by the university, your immigration history form and your student route visa agreement should be in place and uploaded to your My Record. And then you should be able to submit a CAS request once all of those things are completed. If we go to the next screen, please. To submit a CAS request, if you go onto your My Visa section of your My Record, you can see down here there's a amber coloured box that says to request a CAS. That's what you need to click on to take you through to the CAS request section. If you get stuck in any of these processes, or you can't find the immigration history form, or you can't find the student route visa agreement, it's important to reach out at the earliest possible convenience, so we can help you and rectify and get you back on the right track as soon as possible. Next slide, please. So when you hit that CAS request tile, this is what information you'll see. These are the sections that need to be completed for you to be able to submit your CAS request. Until this request is submitted, my team cannot see that you need a CAS. So it's very important that you submit all these details, or you contact someone for help if you get stuck. Sometimes the subsections will be yellow. You don't need to turn them all green. What you do need to do is make sure none of them are red. Okay, so if the sections are red, it means something needs to be actioned. If they're amber or green, it means you've done what you've needed to do. So you'd need to go double check the program details to make sure that you're submitting a CAS for the correct program. You need to check your passport number. You need to confirm your personal details, your qualifications, your English language, your fees paid, and your financial evidence. A lot of this information will be filled out for you. You need to make sure that you're reading through and ensuring that information is correct. For example, if the passport number is not correct, if your name is spelt wrong, if your title is wrong, if your qualification details aren't listed, you need to contact us to make us aware that there's a mistake. And this is your opportunity to ensure that your CAS comes through containing the correct information. We go to the next slide, please. One of the most important parts of the CAS request is your financial documents. Now, not every country is required to submit financial evidence. There are some countries where a student route visa does not require financial evidence. And of course, if you have been in the UK for 12 months, you also don't need to submit financial evidence. But if you do submit financial evidence, it's important to remember that the documentation is accurate and correct, because this could lead to a potential refusal of CAS or even a visa refusal. So you need to upload financial documentation proving that you can pay the remaining tuition fees and monthly living expenses whilst you are studying in the UK. The amount required for living expenses is £1,136 per month. For universities in London boroughs, I think this is just under £1,500 a month. So it is another selling point of CCCU that whilst we are still close to London, the amount required for living expenses is quite a bit less because we are outside of London technically. You can use bank statements, an official sponsor letter, or a loan document. This doesn't mean you can use a sponsor letter from any business. If a business is sponsoring you, they need to be a multinational business, and we will follow up with verification checks. Of course, if CCCU is sponsoring you, then that's different because we have our own verification in place already. You can use a loan document, but the loan needs to detail what the loan is for, and it needs to explicitly tell us that it's for study at Canterbury Christ Church University and that the money can be accessed by you with any conditions, if there is any conditions listed as well. The bank statements need to be in your name. You can use multiple bank statements, but they need to cover the same transactional period. That means if one bank statement says from the 1st till the 31st of the month, then the second bank statement also needs to say from the 1st to the 31st of the month. The bank statement needs to be in your own name or in the name of a parent or guardian. If the account statement's in the name of a parent or guardian, further evidence will be requested, such as an affidavit to confirm that they understand that they are gifting you this money, as well as a birth certificate to prove relationship. The money must be held in the account for a minimum of 28 days. And I just need to reiterate that that is a minimum of 28 full days. So the UKVI prefers bank statements that cover more than 28 days, because if you do just enough, that can look a bit suspicious, or they will probably ask for further evidence anyway, just to make sure that it covers the full 28 days. So always good to go at least 29 days, so you know there's no risk that further evidence is going to be requested. The bank statements or all financial documents need to be on an official letterhead, including the institution's name and logo on every page. You can't just provide a Word document with a load of numbers on. It needs to be an official bank statement. The bank statement should be signed and stamped and include the account number, the statement date, and the currency. Your parents can sponsor you financially. In this case, please submit a letter agreeing to the sponsorship, signed and dated, as well as your birth certificate / adoption certificate or letter of guardianship and their bank statements. If you use your own personal bank statement and there's any suspicious activity on the account, further evidence may be requested. It's not because that we think you're disgenuine, it's because that we are preventing you from a potential visa refusal. The checks that we are doing are less enhanced than the checks that the UKVI Home Office will do. So if we are asking you for additional evidence, it's because the Home Office will also be asking you for additional evidence. For example, if your bank account was only opened 31 days ago and you provide us with a bank statement of 28 days showing the exact amount of funds that you need in the account, it's likely going to be that a proof of funds is provided. That means confirmation of where these funds were sourced or how these funds were sourced, such as a sales deed, a gift letter, just some form of evidence that states where you got this money from, because there's no transaction history on the account. If your CAS is rejected due to financial evidence being required, it's important that you try and send us this extra evidence as soon as possible. Don't just resubmit your CAS request with the same evidence, because that will cause further delays. Next slide, please. After confirming the details on your CAS, Our team will review your CAS request, and if further information is required, we will email you directly. Just to add, you will receive an automated email to say that your CAS has been rejected. You will then receive a second email from a member of our team detailing why the CAS has been rejected. It doesn't always mean that you're definitely not receiving a CAS. 9 times out of 10, it will be a temporary rejection until we get the additional evidence from you. You are able to go on and resubmit your CAS request as soon as you have that additional evidence. If you're struggling, again, you just need to communicate. So if you cannot add the additional evidence we are asking for, you can just email it to us. As long as you keep those lines of communication open, we'll be able to help you. Your CAS details are sent to you via email. The email contains the CAS number you need to use for your visa application. It's very important that when you receive your CAS, you read through it thoroughly. This is because you need to make sure that there are no mistakes on the CAS, especially before you submit your visa application to the Home Office. It's very, again, like I've said to you many times, we are not robots here at CCCU. Human errors can happen. If your name is spelt wrong, if you have 2 given names and 1 last name, but we've put them the wrong way round, if your qualifications are listed incorrectly, or if there's something you feel that is missing from the CAS, you need to let us know as soon as possible. Then we'll be able to add a sponsor note to the Home Office. So you probably won't receive a new CAS, but we can let the Home Office know that an error has been made, and we can let them know what the correction is. And then you can make your visa application. So please do check the CAS for accuracy. Should your visa be refused, please provide us with a copy of the refusal. Recently, in the past couple of years, there's been an increase of fraudulent visa refusals. It's important that applicants understand that universities can authenticate these visa refusals, and they can also do that directly with the Home Office. So if you provide us with a false refusal, it will be picked up on and you will not be entitled to the full refund. If your arrival in the UK is delayed due to your visa application or any other circumstances, it's so important that you inform the compliance team as soon as possible. This is because it doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to be able to come and study with us. There's a number of options we can do. There's a few different things we can do, such as track your application with the Home Office. We can't expedite it, but we can find out where in the system it is. We can potentially extend your deadline. If you don't inform us of your late arrival, you will possibly refuse entry to the UK at the border because of the last date of acceptance on your CAS will have passed. So it's important that if you are going to be late, we know as much in advance as possible so we can inform the Home Office of your late arrival and let them know that you are still able to come and join us for your studies. If we cannot offer you an extension on that day, we'll be able to start the process of the deferral to the next intake fairly quickly. Sometimes, depending on how close the intakes are together, you may even be able to use the same CAS or the same visa application. So it's very important that you are honest about your arrival date and time, because we're here to help you. Again, we're not the enemy. We're not here to trick you out. We're here to do everything we can to get you to the UK, to CCCU successfully. Next slide, please. So you should apply for your visa as early as possible. You should allow at least 8 weeks to receive your visa decision. The Home Office, there's no really way to tell how long it's going to take for your application to be processed. It can take longer than this and it can take shorter than this, but 8 weeks generally is a good amount of time to do and receive your visa application. If you do arrive late, you will miss out on important events such as Welcome Week, orientation, inductions, and even some of your classes. You really don't want to miss anything because it's also a time for you to make friends and socialise, and you don't want to fall behind on your studies before you've even started. So whilst we can look at options of still ensuring you get to CCCU on time, it's important that you try and avoid a late arrival as best as possible. Degina, do we want to do some questions now, or Saule, do you want to go over to your slides?
Thank you so much, Lauren. Really, really useful information. I think we'll let Saule to present her part, and then we'll take questions at the end, if that's okay.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And I am hoping that from upcoming section, we will already answer a few questions that I see in the Q&A section. Now, one thing I wanted to cover today after this wonderful presentation by Lauren that I think answered many of the questions and unclarities, I wanted to speak about common myths we hear in the market and have a conversation with Lauren of what's actually true, what's a myth, and where the misconceptions are coming from. Some of the first things and one of the main things I hear from the students is that agents can prepare all the answers for the students for the precast interview in advance, as it's just 5-7 simple questions. Lauren, is that true?
That is most certainly not true, Saule. This is because, as I mentioned previously, there's no way for even the interviewer to know what the follow-up questions are going to be because they aren't pre-planned in advance. The follow-up questions are completely random based on how the students respond to the initial questions that are asked. As well as this, the questions do change in the precast interviews. It's not just the same generic 5 to 7 simple questions. The questions can change at any time. So a student could be really prepared on a set of maybe 10 to 12 questions, but none of those questions could be asked on the day. So if a student sounds over-prepared or they've memorized, or we can see that they're reading off the script, or they're giving the same answers as the previous possible 10 students before them, it's going to raise some serious credibility concerns. And like I mentioned previously, and I just want to reiterate again, we do not expect students to come to these interviews with perfect English because we understand that English is often spoken as a second language for our international students. We just want the conversations to be natural and the questions to be asked authentically. And if we need to rephrase or repeat or give the student some time to think of the answer, that we would a million times prefer that to be the case than for the students to be reading from a script or to be over remembering the answers they've been trained to give.
Wonderful. Thank you for clarifying this. So absolutely, students that do have a script, they also sound robotic. Really, only the best actors can sell somebody else's words as their own. And I doubt that we're going to have such actor talents in everyone. At the same time, I'm really glad you added that the students can actually ask to rephrase the question or even repeat it if they didn't hear. We're all humans. It happens. It happens that you couldn't hear a question. It happens that you're nervous and you just needed it to be rephrased. Now, another thing we keep on hearing from the students, once an offer is made, CAS is automatic. Is CAS really an automatic process, Lauren?
No, Saule, a CAS is definitely not given automatically. It's something that is reviewed by our team very cautiously before we give. Like we discussed previously, there's so many aspects and evidence and documents that are looked at before a CAS is given. Even an unconditional offer does not automatically result in a CAS. Even a successful pre-CAS interview does not automatically result on the CAS. There's other conditions, including financial checks, document verification, credibility screenings, and as well as this, also reviewing an immigration history form. So if a student has highlighted a previous visa refusal, that might be followed up on before the CAS is even considered. So it's very important that a student takes the whole journey very seriously and doesn't relax once their offer's been given.
Absolutely. So there's a lot of components that gets into releasing a CAS, and we can see that it's not an automatic process. It's not done by a program either. It's really done by humans checking everything very, very closely. So we also need to allow a bit of time for CAS to be issued. If a student is refused once, and here we mean UKVI interviews or UKVI visa, they can just reapply with the same documents. Is that correct, Lauren?
That is completely untrue. If a student is refused, there's always a reason for the refusal. Like I said previously, we want all of the applicants to have a successful journey to CCCU. We want to see all of their faces for registration. If we have refused a student, it's for a very good reason. So repeated refusals can raise some serious red flags, and eventually it could lead to applications being not considered at all. Students should be correcting all previous issues. If they are unsure what the refusal has been based on, or they just want some further clarity, they can ask. If they're not 100% sure why we're asking for further financial evidence, if they are just a bit confused on what they're missing or what they need to add, they are 100% welcome to call or email to ask for further clarification, so they can make those changes.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for clarifying that as well. Now, another one that we keep on hearing is that it's practically impossible for students to write a good SOP on their own. They do need help. What do you think about that?
I think that's just complete rubbish, to be honest with you, Sally. I have experience in our admissions office reviewing statements of purpose and personal statements, and the best ones are the ones that just portray that authenticity and that you can actually almost hear the student speaking them. We don't expect perfect English, like I keep saying. Even for our home applicants, we don't always see perfect English or perfect grammar. And that's fine because mistakes do happen. We just want students to speak from their heart and explain their choices clearly. And we just want them to link their statement of purpose to their application and why this application means so much to them, why they want to be here, and how it's going to help them exceed in their career. That's all we want. We don't need it to be robotic. We don't need it to be written by a friend who speaks really good English, because that's not what we're expecting. We just want it to be authentic and genuine.
Absolutely. So we can even say it's the other way around. It's not impossible for students to write a good SOP on their own. It's actually impossible to write a good SOP with a help of an artificial intelligence tool or by copying it.
100%.
All right. Thank you so much, Lauren, for clarifying these myths. And quickly, because I already see some questions in the Q&A sections as well, I wanted to cover UKVI interviews. So what are they and what is UKVI expecting? So UKVI credibility interview is a mandatory part of the UK student visa process for some applicants. It's designated to check whether a student is a genuine applicant who intends to study and return. So it usually takes place after the visa application is submitted, before a decision is made. And it's triggered by certain risk indications such as region, study gap, poor English, vague SOP, age and patterns, etc. Now, it's really important to remember is just because your friend or your other student that seem to have exactly the same circumstances, they're from the same region, even from the same sub-region, or even neighbors on the same street. If one didn't get an interview, it doesn't mean that the other will not. The interview might be triggered to any student. So correspondingly, every student should be prepared for the interview. And UKVI uses it to assess the applicant's motivation, preparedness, and honesty. Really, it's very similar as the pre-CAS interviews as well. What they're looking for is motivation, preparedness, honesty. So what are they looking for? More detail. The students should be genuine, not using a way to immigrate, not using study as a way to immigrate. well-informed, understand the course and university as well as university location. They should be capable, have the language skills and academic ability, honest, no contradictions or red flags, not scripted either, and financially prepared, clear and understanding of the funds. As Lauren already mentioned, there are no scripts. Because there are no scripts of UKVI, there's no answers the students should be really preparing for in order to pass. You might prepare for 105 answers and you might be asked question 217. Because there are no scripts, there's no way to prepare a script for answers. However, while doing research, students should dedicate their time on specific areas such as their campus, living arrangements, finances, details about their course, personal details, international travels, and living in the UK. Now, there was also a question in the Q&A section, what are the potential reasons of failing the interview? So the reasons Lauren already mentioned briefly, so I'm going to briefly reiterate: scripted and non-genuine. So scripted and non-genuine, believe it or not, this is the main area where the students fail their interviews, both the precast and the UKVI interviews from what we see. They use the identical phrases, they freeze and panic when it comes off the script, they give robotic or natural delivery, they struggle with follow-up questions, and they say what they think the interviewer wants to hear and not what's actually true. I mean, in reality, what the interviewer wants to hear is what's true to you, what's true to the student. It's also sometimes very visible when a student is asked a question they prepared for versus the question they were not prepared for, and the English level suddenly differs extremely. And that's when they also caught that, well, there's a script behind. It's also the inadequate English below visa standards, so students who struggle with basic comprehension cannot answer beyond rehearsed phrases, have grammatical errors, and so on. As Lauren rightly mentioned, some grammatical errors, some levels of English are absolutely fine. Not everyone, and majority actually, will not have English as their first language. Asking to repeat or rephrase questions is also absolutely fine. We're talking about cases here where students are really struggling to converse in English. And poor course and university knowledge. So really the students who didn't do their research. I always say, when you're making a bigger purchase, when you're doing an investment, you go and do your research. So when students ask me, what should I do research about? It's the same answer as to any bigger investment in your life. What would you do a research? You would do an independent research before buying a car. You would do an independent research before planning a trip abroad for 2 weeks with your family. Therefore, you should also do an independent research or choosing your studies. It's a big investment in your future. And with that, I will pass to my colleague Degina to host the Q&A section.
Apologies, I was on mute. Thank you so much, Saul, and thank you so much, Lauren. A really helpful information, and especially if you're a student preparing for your interviews or prepare for your SOPs, please do ensure you obviously take this advice on board. I can see we have few questions posted already, so let's jump into questions. There are a few questions around deadlines. So we have already sent an announcement on deadlines. So you will need to submit your students' applications within the next week or so. So please ensure you have provided your students' documents, including, as I mentioned earlier, SOPs, including CVs, educational documents as well. There are quite a few questions around provisional certificate. We've recently been notified there might be some updates from the UKVI side on the provisional certificate from South Asia. So those considered as a high-risk region. However, this is currently being looked into by the university, and we're trying to seek further clarity on that. So that's been raised with the university, and we, like I mentioned, we're looking into that, and we'll notify once we have further update. But if you have already received your final certificate, please ensure you submit this with your student's application. It's really, really important. Or please do request your university to provide that, just in case, because we don't want you to have any implications with your application, with your course, and potentially with your visa as well. If there is a visa compliance interview from the embassy, can I take precast interview knowledge and apply it to the compliance interview, or do I need to know anything specific? I mean, absolutely. The fact that you're going through consultation arranged by uni team, which you should really look at as help to prepare for your interview, for precast interview, but also then taking obviously precast interview, that should already help you with UKVI interview. But please ensure you do also prepare a little bit more, just to ensure that you are able to answer to the UKVI if asked on anything around program structure, anything about your future goals, the financial side of things, anything outside of studies as well. For example, which activities are available in Canterbury, or your accommodation as well. Is there anything else you would like to add on that, Saul, Lauren?
I just think, to reiterate what you have said, Dagina, that it's our processes are a fantastic opportunity to prepare the applicants for the UKVI visa application. So 100% I would take that experience of the pre-CAS interview into the UKVI interview if you are asked to take part in one.
Brilliant, thank you. What if a student is unable to understand British accent? I guess they're referring to either precast interview or UKVI interview. I mean, the best thing to do is obviously ask the interviewer to repeat the question in case if you're not able to understand it first time around, or perhaps there could be technical issues. There is nothing wrong with asking an interviewer to repeat question. Is there anything else to add to that, Lauren?
I would love to add to this one. So something that we sometimes advise our students, if you're struggling with people speaking quicker in British English, it's absolutely normal. Listen to BBC Radio, just in the background, once in a while, just to get used to the accents, just to get used to the speed of people speaking. I myself, I'm not from UK. And the first time I landed here and started living years ago, even though I was fluent in English, I struggled on the streets when people would start speaking quicker. So be it for your precast interview, be it for your visa interview, or just life in UK, listen to the radio in the background or just listen to the news.
I couldn't agree more.
Help.
I honestly couldn't agree more, Saul. You literally read my mind, because I myself am not also native English speaker. I came as an international student, so I can relate to many of those who are actually coming to the UK for the first time to improve their English, and also, you know, to go on their study journey as well. So radio, 100%. Try also watching TV. That also helps. Do try to make local friends. That's always an advantage as well. And podcasts. I mean, currently I am really into podcasts, especially when it comes to humor. It really helps to kind of understand various accents. And just like you, Sauli, when I first arrived in the UK, I was struggling with quite a few various accents. So really, really important, guys, that you do not give up. If you don't understand something, just ask the interviewer to repeat. But like Saula mentioned, it's really important you also use various tools to prepare for the interview. So yes, watching the news, listening to podcasts, watching TV, listening to the radio station, and trying to understand various accents, that really, really helps.
And
Sorry,
remember,
Lauren,
you're
did you-
clearly not alone, so you will get there.
Oh, 100%, you're not alone. I mean, I'm not sure about the recent stats, but there's so many international, not only students, but also people from various countries in the world come to the UK. So you will meet people with various accents. So it does take time to adjust and to actually understand different accents, which is absolutely fine. We are all different, we're all unique. And so are our accents as well. Okay, right. Let's jump into the next question. But that was a good question. Thank you, Isha. Can a student get a second chance for precast interview? I mean, guys, we are already in mid of July, so it's really important to understand that the university also has limited resources. So it's important that you actually stick to the slot that's been provided to you. You already have obviously been prepared for the interview. You've gone through in uni consultation. That should be a good preparation for you. You have received your slot as per UK time. So as Lauren mentioned earlier, please ensure you do attend as per the time specified as per the UK time. But ultimately, by the time your precast interview takes place, you should be already well prepared for the interview. So currently it's only one attempt, but you should be able to nail it. Unless it's a very, very intricate case where maybe there were some technical issues, we will try our best to obviously book another slot where possible, but in most of cases, it's only one attempt. Lauren, is there anything to add to that? Sorry.
I was just going to add that if there is severe technical issues, we may be able to be slightly more lenient, but it's very important that you are aware that you need good connection for your interview to take place. So please do try everything in your power to ensure that you have good signal where you are planning to have your interview.
Yeah, that's actually a very good point, Lauren. Thank you for mentioning. I completely forgot to highlight as well. Guys, please ensure you attend your interview using a laptop rather than a mobile phone, because we've noticed sometimes using mobile phone can cause some issues with whether it's internet connection or simply not even being able to actually join the interview by Teams. So really important that you use your laptop and, like Lauren said, have a stable internet connection. If you need to go to the agent's office, please do so if it helps, but do ensure that nobody's around you obviously helping you with the interview. It has to be just yourself attending the interview. Okay, let's move on. A situation, a student who's applied for MBA, studied another subject, not business, in bachelor's. They applied for MBA to fit in the with the competitive world. Can he be asked about the module he will be studying during the MBA in detail? If he's unable to answer, will he be rejected? I mean, just to reiterate here, it's really important that you obviously become familiar with the program structure, which is displayed clearly on the university website as well. And there is explanation for every single module you will be studying. So do ensure you take a note of that, and you need to understand the program structure. And that's why I suppose you chose the program, because you want to know and to gather the knowledge in those specific modules. Would they be rejected if they're not able to explain about the module, Lauren?
It certainly wouldn't go in their favour if they're unable to explain course details around the course they have applied for, but there's no black and white answer to a student being refused at the precast interview. It's looked at as a whole, the interview as a whole, and is scored, each question is scored separately. So you're disadvantaged if you can't confidently answer about modules, but it's not a guarantee that you will fail the whole interview.
Great, thank you. And like Lauren mentioned earlier, interviewers are human beings, so they try to understand. If they see that maybe you're a little bit nervous or perhaps not able to answer one question, they will try to ask you another question and, you know, judge your overall performance, not just based on one question that you were not able to answer, but as a whole. Okay, we've noticed many students receiving URLs, but then unable to book the interview slots on My Record. I mean, currently students should be able to book the interviews for both undergraduate, postgraduate via My Record. However, if there are any technical issues for any specific cases, please feel free to reach out to our team on the ground. We would be more than happy to help, and we'll raise it with the university relevant departments just to make sure that your interview slot is booked. We currently do have slots available, but they do get booked up very, very quickly now that we're in July. So please ensure that you have approached us as early as possible. And just to reiterate, guys, do not wait. Sometimes I speak to students, like when I travel as well, and they say, oh, we've been waiting for 2 weeks. Please do not wait for 2 weeks. If you see that you have been unconditionally accepted, you can see it within your portal. It's just you're not able to book the interview. Just reach out to our team on the ground, maybe via your educational agency straight away. Do not wait. We don't want any delays with your interview. We want to get it booked for you as soon as possible. Yeah. Well, that's a very generic question, to be honest. Why do precast interviews get rejected? Anything to highlight here, Lauren?
Oh, sorry, I was muted. I would just say again that it's looked at as a whole, but the main, to reiterate what I've said previously, we are not here to trick you out or to make the journey more difficult. We want the students to be successful, and the best advice I can give to ensure that they do have success is that they are genuine and authentic. We're not looking for a perfect standard of English. We're not looking for them to not be nervous or not to be confused or to not make mistakes. We're 100% expecting those things to happen. It's just important that they are as authentic and genuine as possible, and that their answers are not scripted, that they're not reading off a script, or they're not over rehearsing, or they haven't been trained by someone else and told exactly what to say.
Perfect, thank you. What's the deposit amount that they need to pay before enrollment? Okay, so the first deposit the students would need to pay is prior to CAS issuance and prior to, obviously, in order to secure your place. So that's £5,000 only. If you are applying for a standalone international foundation, that's a full fee. So that's £14,000 after the scholarship. Now, once you have received your CAS and you have secured your visa before you travel to the UK, ideally, you would need to arrange 50% of your outstanding fee, which is £4,500. So yes, you're right here, Gisna, you will need to pay in total £9,500 prior to enrollment. But the initial deposit prior to CAS, well, ideally, once you've received your unconditional offer letter, now that we're reaching a very, very busy stage of the recruitment cycle, first deposit is £5,000 for both undergraduate, postgraduate programs. The only program that requires a full fee prior to CAS is International Foundation, which is a standalone case. But there is also integrated foundation available at CCCU. So for that option, you can go ahead with £5,000 deposit only. And I can't stress it enough. It's really important that you cover your outstanding fees, ideally prior to traveling to the UK, to avoid any issues with payment allocation. Also, it's good for you when you arrive in the UK. You can also provide all the receipts, etc., at the border in case if asked, because they would ask you about accommodation, about your tuition fees, funds, etc., etc. Okay, is a source of fund compulsory for student to provide consent letter from parents? Okay, so if parents are the ones sponsoring students, would they need to provide source of funds? Lauren?
So if a parent or guardian bank statement is used and it is in their name, they may not need to provide source of funds, but you do need to provide a statement signed and dated from the parent or guardian to confirm that they are gifting you this money. and a birth certificate to prove relationship. However, if that parent or guardian has transferred a large sum of money into your personal account, and when you give us your personal bank statement, we can see that, for example, £20,000 has been transferred into it one day, then we may ask you where you got this money from. And in that case, you can then provide the statement from parents as well to say that they are gifting you this money.
Perfect, thank you. If a student share bank statement which is matured more than 28 days, I think you've kind of answered that question already. So yeah, it's really important, guys, to reiterate that it has to be 28 consecutive days that you need to show the funds for. So please ensure you actually have a little bit extra, because obviously currency fluctuations can happen as well. So we want to make sure that you have sufficient funds within your bank account, and that's your living cost plus your outstanding tuition fees, as Lauren mentioned previously, for the first year. Okay. Does one need to show a proof of living expenses for a month or the entire year? So that's 9 months covered, right, Lauren?
Yeah, that's correct, as well as any unpaid tuition.
Yeah. What happens when you have sponsorship from, I'm not sure if I follow this question. Okay, there are a few questions in one. In the event of plagiarism is noticed in one SOP, does one have a chance to resubmit? Well, if you submit your initial statement of purpose with your application, which you must submit as per the new guideline we've provided recently, we've also shared the actual personal statement guideline and the presentation and the recording from the previous webinar we had last week, where Sauli highlighted, you know, the requirements for the personal statement as well. And today, obviously, Lauren covered that too. So please ensure you follow that guideline. You need to submit your personal statement at the start of your application journey via GAS Gateway. If we spot that there is a bit of plagiarism, I consider a few questions which I've answered to some students. There's some percentage of plagiarism noticed. We do give you a second chance to perhaps rework on your personal statement. So please submit your updated personal statement if you do receive that feedback at the soonest. Now, once obviously your case is submitted to CCCU, by that point you should already have a full package of documents and obviously pass your consultation. And in case if the university spots anything to do with either plagiarism or AI generated SOP, unfortunately your case will be rejected. So it's really important that this obviously is rectified at the very initial stage of the application, when you still are able to rework on your personal statement where needed. How long does the application submission take to hear from CCCU?
Hi, Dagina.
I think we may be having some technical difficulties there, but I believe the question that Dagina had started to answer was potentially how long it takes CCCU to review an application. And again, this can really differ throughout the times of year, because obviously we have busier periods and we have more quieter periods, and then we also have times where the deadline's really tight. So if applications are submitted sort of from now, then I would say that they are being reviewed within 2 to 3 days, because we know that the applications have to be processed by August. So if you are yet to submit an application, please do so as soon as possible. And the turnaround time should be quite quick, because we need to get you through.
Apologies. Thank you so much, Lauren. Yeah, apologies. My internet, I think, is having issues today, but we only have a few minutes left, but I still see lots of people are staying on the call, which is really good. Thank you. Very, very quickly through some of the, I guess, relevant questions here. will my SOP be judged based on my English skills, given the fact that I have applied for international foundation, so standalone foundation, which obviously requires a lower English level, lower IELTS score? Lauren?
So as mentioned previously, we would be more suspicious if a student had provided a statement of purpose with amazing and without errors in English if they're applying for an international foundation program, because we check the scores of the English language testing, and we compare the statement of purpose as well as the pre-CAS interview to those scores. And if your English has exceeded expectations of a student with those scores, then that would raise more concern or suspicion. Obviously, we need to be able to understand what is written in your statement of purpose, and you should have those basic levels of English. Otherwise, you wouldn't receive an offer anyway. But we do take into the account the courses you're applying for, and if you're applying for one of our lower level courses or a pre-sessional course or an international foundation program, we are expecting the level of English to be slightly lower than one of a level 6 or level 7 or even level 8 program.
Perfect. Thank you, Lauren. That's really helpful. Can someone change their program after receiving their CAS letter? And would that impact their visa process? And would it require a new CAS issuance? Because my understanding is students are given CAS for specific program. Their visa is also issued for specific programs. So if there are any changes to that, there might be some implications, right?
Yeah. We wouldn't change the CAS at that point, because especially if the visa application has already started, because that will cause significant delays in your visa being accepted. It could even result in a visa refusal, because the Home Office may and are entitled to request a new CAS in that circumstance. However, students are able to make a course change request once they have registered at the university. So once you arrive and you have registered onto the course in which your CAS was issued for, you can make a change to study request and request to change your course, which is fine and does not affect your visa. The only time that it would affect your visa is if the time length is different in the course. So if the course is like a year less, for example, then your visa will be curtailed roughly a year earlier than it would have been. But there's no risk to your visa just being cancelled because you've changed course.
Perfect. That's really helpful. Thank you, Lauren. Okay, that's a good question. Is initial deposit before pre-CAS interview? I mean, because it's getting really busy right now, we do strongly encourage you to start arranging your payment deposit as soon as your unconditional offer letter is issued. And obviously at the same time start booking your pre-CAS interviews, because it may take time to allocate your payment, but also may take time to obviously wait for your pre-CAS interview. So it's best to arrange everything simultaneously and make sure that you are well prepared for your pre-CAS interview. Again, go through your notes you used for your consultation session as well, and do additional research just to make sure that you actually have higher chances of passing pre-CAS interview, which currently are the pre-CAS interview pass rate is good, but given we are approaching the deadlines very, very fast, it's important to reiterate that you need to really start moving fast and arranging your deposit as soon as your unconditional offer letter issued. And we will start obviously working with finance team to make sure it's allocated for you as quickly as possible, so that once you've passed your pre-CAS interview, your CAS style gets activated and you can start uploading your CAS request documents for compliance team to issue your CAS at the soonest. And like Lauren said, we need to allow some time for visas. I mean, currently we see a good turnaround time for UK visas, which is amazing. But as we are getting close to the September, UKVI may take a little bit longer, especially in certain regions where the applications volume is high. If someone, okay, I think we've already taken this question. Past consultation after sending for unconditional. student can be rejected for SOP. Well, at the time of consultation, that's why we've changed the requirement, the minimum required documents right now. We ask for SOP to be provided at the initial stage of application, and also the CV, to make sure that when your consultation takes place, that your SOP by that point is already accepted. Okay, so that's really, really important to reiterate, that you will not be allowed to appear for consultation unless your SOP has been accepted. So please ensure that SOP is provided at the initial stage of your application. If your application was submitted previously, prior to the new guideline, still arrange your SOP before you go ahead with your consultation. And if you're having any issues uploading it, please contact our relevant team on the ground. They would be able to support you. We've also been following up with students to make sure they understand what missing documents are there. But in case if you haven't received any email from us, or maybe it went to the spam folder, please reach out and we will guide you on any missing documents you still have to submit. Okay, road from SOP, which and I think we've also covered that in the previous webinar as well, and we've shared some links. But Lauren, would you like to reiterate which tools that does the university use to identify whether AI has been used, or whether plagiarism is within the SOP?
Yeah. Our admissions team have access to software that they can actually run your personal statement through to determine whether or not it has been plagiarized, or AI has been used, or there's an indication of AI being used. So it's always best to just not take the risk. Of course, you can research before you write your statement of purpose, and if you want to quote any sources you have used for facts and statistics, then you are more than welcome to do that. We're not looking for, if we find one single sentence that has been copied from our website, we wouldn't consider that to be plagiarism. It's more if the whole personal statement, or a large sum of it, has been written by AI sources or has been copied and pasted from Google, because we do have the tools to tell us if that's been the case.
Perfect. That's really helpful. Thank you so much. I think we're already running out of time before Zoom kicks us out. I just wanted to thank once again Lauren and Sauli for a fantastic webinar, very, very useful. And thank you to Richard for your help also with arranging, and to Sukanya for running this webinar for us. Stay tuned, we have more webinars to come for CCCU. And like I mentioned, don't forget to submit your students' applications, your outstanding documents, and book your consultation sessions at the soonest, so that we can take your application to the next stage. If you have already received unconditional offer letter, please book your pre-CAS interview the soonest and arrange your deposit payment so that we can proceed with payment allocation. And if you have already done that, then do submit your CAS request. Once you've received your CAS letter from compliance team, please do not delay your visa application. It's really important that you submit your visa application plenty of time, and you receive your visa and arrive in the UK before your studies commence. And actually you can arrive in the UK 1 month prior to the start date of the course, which is an amazing way to explore what Canterbury and the rest of the UK has to offer. Summer is a beautiful time to be in the UK. So we really look forward to seeing you in Canterbury very, very soon. Thank you, everyone, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Have a good day.